Okay, hello, this is Toby from Heavyweight MMA, here today with arguably the most recognisable and popular Australian sportsman in my lifetime, the Marrickville Mauler, Jeff Fenech. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Our pleasure, Toby. Pleasure, brother.
Now, this podcast, just to let you know, is basically an MMA podcast. So we talk about lots of different sort of fighting arts. I met with some of the legends of Australian kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA so far. And what podcast about combat sports would be complete without having talked with one of the greats of Australian boxing, Mr. Jeff Fenech himself. Now, obviously, boxing is a fundamental part of fighting and MMA, and people these days can't get by without any boxing skills. They have to have some sort of basic boxing skills to compete. Do you have any interest or anything in MMA at all, or UFC or these type of things?
Obviously, I watch it. I love all combat sport. I would have loved to get a call from Conor McGregor to teach him the box prior to having his boxing events. I'm sure I would have been able to make him, so much better. I mean, I look at some of the stuff they were doing, and look, no disrespect to the guys that are teaching him, but I could have made sure that, who knows, you could have even won the fights, some of those fights. But I watch him and I think that, they lack the look. When you do pad work, you got to realise that the pad doesn't headbutt you. So all these guys that are doing this pad work, they're hitting these guys on their heads and hitting them. That doesn't happen. You've got to teach these guys to move progressively to their opponent. And I think Emmanuel Stewart was the greatest at teaching that, and he taught me a lot about that. So when I see a lot of these people doing pad work, and then I see them in fights missing with punches, they miss because they're not learned. They haven't been taught to move their feet as they punch. So I'd love to help some of these guys one day. I promise you, I know if I help them, that they'll go to a whole new level.
For sure. So you watch these fights and you're probably breaking down their actual boxing skills, and that's the main thing you see as a range difficulty, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you even look at fighters these days, and a lot of the fighters, they say, like, they threw 120 punches, they land 30. I mean, God, come on, the guy's right in front of you. You're missing with 90. You're missing with 70% of your punches, sometimes more. It's a skill you need to learn. And I mean, like I said, if you watch people do pad work, well, the majority of them, they catch your punches. You're not throwing the punches. They're meeting you 3/4 of the way, and your boxer's moving away as you punch them. So there's a huge listen. When somebody shows you how to do it right, it's enjoyable because you're doing something right. And when you're doing it right, and your body feels good, and your mind feels good, you think, wow, this is how you do it. And then you enjoy it, and you do it when you're fighting. You don't miss 85% of your punches. You land with 80% of your punches, and that's how you win fights.
True. Now, I've seen you, last time I saw you, Jeff, was actually in Macau. You were rubbing shoulders with James Packer, and you were sitting at a table with Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. Obviously, you've rubbed shoulders with a lot of stars. Again, on the MMA topic, have you met any of the current MMA fighters in your times?
Not really. Like I said, of course, Mark Hunt from here, Rob Whittaker and those boys, and Alex, the Aussie guys, yeah. But like I said, sometimes when I think and I watch these guys getting taught the basics of boxing to improve their MMA, they're really being taught nothing. I mean, let somebody who knows how to teach them. I'll guarantee you, let me teach one of those guys that are in the top echelon there how to punch properly and to throw the punch where they're supposed to throw it, and they will improve tenfold. I have no doubt that I could help Conor McGregor be as good a boxer as well as he's an MMA fighter if he punches properly.
That's awesome. There are actually some up and comers in Australia. Maybe they should seek you out, right, to get a bit of help.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, when it comes to asking for help, not that they're embarrassed or shy, their teachers don't like, or their trainers don't like them getting shown how to do things properly because they think they know it all. And that's what's wrong with sport in the whole world. We have these trainers who are very possessive and protective. I mean, if my fighter needs some help and I know that somebody other than Jeff Fenech can help him, it'll be my first job to send him to him to get better tuition. And that doesn't happen in Australia. It doesn't happen in the world because, like I said, there's that big jealousy word that everybody doesn't want nobody to take credit for what they've done or their fighter. But with me, like I said, if my fighter needs a certain amount of help in an area that I don't believe that I can provide, I would send it to somebody who I thought was better.
Yeah. Now, Jeff, also a few years ago, I used to see you in Star Casino running the Jeff Fenech Fight Nights down there in one of the showrooms. What's your involvement now in the boxing scene? Are you, as far as training and promotions?
Yeah, well, in the promotions, I'm not in the promotional part of it. I've tried to do a few things this year with a couple of our companies, and they really haven't really come back. A couple of the guys here in Australia have got have got all the fights from Fox, which is disappointing because there's a lot of people like myself and other people who would love to put some shows back on again. And all the shows have been given to certain people. Good luck to them. But look, I'm training a few good boys, and I've got young Brock Jarvis who is on the cusp of signing a huge deal with a international company. I've got Nader Hamden, Sung Has Hamden. I've got Jacob Clemshaw. I've got Jack Rubaker. And I've got a new boy. His name is Caesar Afghan. He's a Turkish boy who's 18. He's only had one fight, but he's an amazing talent. And I've also got a little kid whose name's Ari Menzi. He's 12 years old. This little kid's going to be anything. This kid's going to be one of them, our great fighters, if he's just brought up the right way and doesn't have too many fights until he gets to the right age. But I've got a good group of fighters that I'm really enjoying working with. And for me, it's a challenge. And the challenge is for these guys to want to come every day because they know they're improving, they're enjoying their training. Training is not just about training and flogging these guys. It's about letting them enjoy and think they're doing the right thing, and letting them learn every day, and like giving them the right encouragement and ingredients when they come back to the corner. Let them know what they need to do, and if you can do that, I think you're doing a great job. Like I said, I don't call myself a trainer. I call myself a teacher because I try to teach my boys, not train them.
Awesome. And where are you teaching out of at the moment?
I'm at Joe's boxing gym in Five Dock, and I've got my own gym at home. In my gym at home, I've got a lot of things that weights and stuff. But today, I'm getting that all cleared out and just making it specifically for boxing. So there'll be plenty of room. I do a lot of my work at home anyway, but all my pad work and strength work is done here at home, and the sparring is done at Joe's gym. But it's very, very busy. It's full on.
Yeah, awesome. And I know in the world at the moment, I'm sure people have asked you before, but there's a lot of hype around boxing at the moment with these internet fighters, etc. What are your thoughts on these Jake Paul, Askren, and Logan Paul Mayweather fights, etc.?
But all I can say, for people who are earning money any way they can earn it, good luck to them. But look, it saddens me for some of the fighters who have fought all their lives and tried to earn money, and they have they have to wait years to get an opportunity to be world champion, then to make money and all that kind of stuff. So look, that saddens me. But look, to me, I take my hat off to anybody that can make $1 any way they can make it. And these guys that are doing it, I congratulate them. And I can't say anything negative because, like I said, they're out there trying to do the best they can for themselves. And if it means doing what they're doing in boxing or MMA or wherever it may be, good luck to them. They're making money, and that's what we're supposed to do in the world.
That's true. That's true. Now, Jeff, you were born in St. Peter's and spent your time there and also moved through to Marrickville. In the early days, I remember reading your book a long time ago, Rough Early Days. Do you think that contributes to you and your success in boxing and people that are coming up from this sort of background?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's changed. We're talking about how easy it is to make money in certain areas and stuff like that. But for me, the only way I got money when I was young, I had to go out and make it on my own. And there was no jobs. There was no. I was a paper boy and I sold papers and done whatever I could to make money. I done a lot of things I shouldn't have done, and maybe that I'm not proud of today. But that's how we survived back in the day. And not one bit embarrassed to talk about it because, like I said, I've been there, done that, and if I can now teach people to do the right thing by me making mistakes, I'm more than happy to do that.
Yep. And Jeff, just when I think about Jeff Fenech, I think about trying to think of your fights that really stand out to me. And obviously your 3 fights with Azuma Nelson really stick out. And your win against McCrory again, kind of getting back that Olympic loss to show that you really should have been the one holding that gold medal. For you, what sort of which fights were really significant in your mind? What stick out the most?
Well, definitely everybody thinks of the Azuma Nelson fights, but think of the guys that Nelson and I both fought: Mario Martinez, Marcus Villasana, and I beat them every round. Where he won on a controversial decision against Villasana in one fight, and the same with Martinez. But like I said, I think my toughest fights were against Villasana. I think Victor Callejas when I won my 3rd world title. He was a a knockout specialist and hit me in the first round and just about knocked me out, but I was able to, just get my bearings and not show that I was really hurt and come back and turn the fight around, which a lot of people don't know until they watch and see when I got hit in the first round by that uppercut that just my hands dropped by my side and I was in another planet for a couple of seconds, and he didn't jump on me quick enough, and I was able to recover because of my fitness and my tenacity. And obviously, it was my mental strength that got me through everything. Because, like I said, I fought that fight with a broken right hand. I fought fights with two broken hands. I fought my left hand broken 3 or 4 times in a fight. So I think everybody talks about heart and stuff. Tobe, I always talk about it's the mental toughness and it's the preparation. If you've gone through the mental preparation before and you know you're going to do it again, you can do it.
Yeah, so that's one of the questions I had a bit later. Like, it's well publicized about you fighting with the broken hands. It just really shows so much intestinal fortitude. How do you push through that, Jeff? Like when you're in a fight, in training, etc. How do you do it?
Yeah, well, in training, my hands were wrapped very much, but still they were always sore, and I couldn't punch as hard as I wanted to. But like I said, again, when we talk about the heart, again, it's all the mindset, Toby. It's I was ready. I wanted to win. I trained to win. I knew that I had sore hands, and I knew that I had to compensate. Where I sometimes couldn't punch as hard, but I punched, in volume. So instead of like trying to throw 1 or 2 really hard punches, I tried to throw 20, not as hard, but punches that were still damaging, but not knockout punches. But like I said, and I went through that through my whole career as an amateur. When I won my first Australian amateur title in '83, I'll never forget that. 83 or 80, whatever year it was, both hands were in ice. I couldn't sleep all that night because I had to put my hands in ice just to pass the doctor. They were so swollen. And when the doctor was checking my hands that day and he was squeezing them, I had to, really grit my teeth and not say ouch, or else I wouldn't have been able to fight for the Australian title. And like I said, again, it's got nothing to do with heart. It's the power of the mind. This is what tells you can do it. This just reacts to what this tells you. So if you've done the work and you're prepared to go through that, whatever it may be, which I always was, that, like losing weight and all those things were really nothing to me. And we weighed in the same day of the fight. And, so if I had 30 hours weigh-in time like they do today, wow, I would have put on another 5 kilos. But and everything happens for a reason. You learn from that and it makes you bigger, better and stronger. And I love everything that happened. I mean, people say, they always ask, would you like to change anything? Gee, shit, yeah, I would have changed everything, but you can't. So you just get on with life. All these people say I wouldn't change anything, and I would have changed 100 things, Your
camera's dropped off there, mate.
Yeah, so 1 second. It's got to come back. Somebody, yeah.
Yeah, so that mental toughness that you're talking about, Jeff, with yourself and with other fighters, do you think that's something that you're born with, or it's something you can really develop through hard training, etc.?
No, I don't think you're born with it, but you either got that or you don't have it. And I think that, I didn't win for myself, so I won more for my trainer and for the people who I wanted to make proud of me. I really done it for those people. I loved winning for those reasons. And, but I don't think you're not born with it. You learn to adapt, and things happen in life, and those things happen to me, and I just had to adapt. I mean, my father was sick all his life. I seen him go through terrible, things with his heart injuries and heart operations. And maybe that made me tough. I'm looking that my dad could do that. And my dad had died a couple of times and was brought back to life. But look, for me, it's all about preparation, working hard, and how much do you want to win? How much do you want it? And I always thought that I wanted it more than anybody else because I was this little skinny kid, little European kid that really had nothing, and I wanted to prove that I could have anything I wanted.
Yeah, I was listening to a very old documentary, and some of your counterparts were saying that you set your goals to get into the Olympics like a long time before they actually happen, and you just kept driving to achieve that goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and Toby, think of this: I had 20-odd fights when I went to the Olympics. The guys I had, the 3 guys that I fought between them had 600 fights. I mean, nobody, even my teammates, a year or so earlier, gave me no chance to go to the Olympics because I was this inexperienced guy who was learning to box. But like I said, I believed in myself. I believed in what my trainer, Johnny Lewis, told me. And the secret was that Johnny Lewis would set me these goals every week, every day that I went to the gym. He would tell me I could do something. And all of a sudden, and they weren't unachievable, Tobe. So this is the thing people got to learn. He said that You can be state champion. You can be like Australian champion. You can travel overseas. I'm like, yeah, the only place I'll be traveling overseas is to Manly by ferry. But listen, all of a sudden, I'm on a plane going overseas. I'm an Australian champion. So in my head, I started to believe and achieve. So with the achieving, I was believing everything that Johnny told me. And wow, next thing you know, after 24 amateur fights, I'm selected as the Australian team captain to take the boys Olympics. Guys who have had hundreds of fights, who had been in the amateur game for 10 years longer than Jeff Fenech. I was there for 2 years, you know. So yeah, like I said, and like I said, I will say everything comes from the head. I mean, nothing comes from the heart. This is the control. When you get tired, this tells you you're tired. And when you want to work harder, it's the message from your head that says, come on, push harder. And then you push harder because you know you've done it. And that was one of the things that I never had a problem with. I always knew that I could push myself harder than anybody else because I always done that. Every day I went for a run with all my friends. The last kilometre, I would kill myself and just leave them to try to beat them. I'd never let nobody beat me at anything, whether it was, you know, having to cheat to win, just have my hand raised in victory. I would do that. I didn't want to lose. I never wanted to lose.
Yeah, I saw one of the interviews of your mother talking about in football how you're upset losing too. So even as a little tiny fella, you didn't want to lose anything, right?
Right, I'd sit in the corner and cry. I wouldn't go out. I hated losing. And, you know, I was this kind of guy too. I'd get, me being the smallest, by far the smallest kid in the team, I was still screaming at all my teammates because we were getting beat, we were getting beat up, we were getting beaten. I would scream at them, come on, let's try harder, But that was just, well, I don't know. Like I said, I think I was, my parents were very, very tough, and I don't know, I've always wanted to win.
Looking back, like we just talked before about some of your opponents, one of your opponents that stands out to me as well, being someone that's interested in different types of martial arts, etc., is Samart Payakaroon. And I don't think all the boxing public would understand this guy is a legend. He's known as one of the greatest Muay Thai fighters of all time in Thailand and around the world. And you fought him in boxing. When you talk about the fights, he'd had hundreds of fights by the time he got to fight you in boxing. You stopped him in the fourth, I believe. Can you talk about that fight? Like, did you feel anything different from him being a Thai boxer that's changed over to boxing? Was there anything particular about him?
Well, I really didn't know what to expect, except I knew one thing, Toby, that in two of his previous fights, he had knocked out two of the great Mexicans, Lupi Pintor and Juan Meza. And nobody knocks these guys out. This guy had like, I don't know, 12 or 11 defenses of his world title. And Samart Payakaroon knocks him out. So one thing I did know is that he could punch. The other thing that I wanted to find out was, could he handle my pressure from round one to, you know, because he was this kind of, he was a good-looking guy that had amazing skill and class, and he always liked to beat his distance and bring you on the punches. And there was a couple of times that he hit me, Toby. I thought, wow, yeah, I'm lucky that I was able to only get hit a couple of times because he could really punch. But like I said, and people don't realise, you know, because he crossed over from Muay Thai to boxing, that how great he was, not just as a Muay Thai fighter, but as a guy who had 12 or 13 professional fights, to knock these two Mexicans out, it's a huge deal. Like, I fought 4 Mexicans, 4 of the greatest. I never knocked any of them out. They're all tough. Obviously, I had hand problems, but this guy's knocking them out. So look, they bet lots and lots of money on him to beat me. The Thais were very confident, as were other people around the world. They just thought that this guy had the power to knock Jeff Fenech out. But like I said, that was my first venture into the super bantamweight division, and I felt great. Those extra just couple of pounds made me feel great, and I thought it was one of my best performances ever. I just destroyed him from round one, you know, to when I stopped him. You know, he went to hospital, and thank God that I still see him when I go to Bangkok, Thailand today. He's healthy, he's training people, and it was one of my toughest fights by far. Although it only went 4 rounds, and it was still the preparation for that fight was crazy, and he was a great fighter.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned before about setting the goals and working your way to the Olympics. Coming from the humble beginnings that you have come from, Jeff, and then jumping into the Olympics, and then also representing Australia in the professional ranks, how did that feel? Like, it must have been a pretty magic sort of time for you.
Yeah, when I think of it today, it's amazing. But if you turn the clock back, I really can't believe how it happened so quick. He was a guy who I was playing football. I was playing Jersey Flegg, which is under 18s. I started to box at around 17, just, you know, having a couple of fights here and there, mixing it with rugby league and stuff. And all of a sudden, and that was at the end of 81. Early 84, I'm on a plane going to Colorado Springs in training camp to train with the Olympic team. I'm chosen as the Olympic team captain and for boxing, and it was crazy. Like I said, I don't really know how to do it. Did I ever dream of being a fighter? Never. So it wasn't a dream come true for me. It was just a crazy dream that came out of nowhere. And like I said, I never wanted to box. I wanted to be a rugby league player all my life. All I ever wanted to do was play first grade rugby league. And thank God I walked into the youth club. I met Johnny Lewis, and the rest is really history. But it was never planned for me to be a fighter.
And Jeff, talking about training back then, the training from boxing before and then now, are there big changes? Like maybe even in boxing itself, the style of boxing. My impression, I'm not anywhere near an expert like you, but my impression is that back in your time and even before that, there was a lot more exchanges. Now it seems a little bit more staying outside, working the jab a lot more than back when you fought.
Well, I watched the fight the other day, and I won't even mention it, but after a couple of rounds, they were landing one was 4 punches and 1-8 in the round and stuff like that. I'm thinking, wow, I try to throw at least 200 around and hopefully land more than half of them. And then I think of it today, and I look at these guys, they're doing 3 sessions a day, they're doing all this strength and conditioning, they're doing all this new stuff and what are they doing it for? I don't know. And they still get tired. Listen, boxing's the most simplest sport in the world. The greatest fighters in history, they got up early in the morning, they had their road work, they've done their exercise, their stomach work, and they box in the afternoon. And that's what my boys do. We do a little bit of strength work here and there on certain areas just to make sure that and everything that I do it's all these guys that say they train 4 and 5 hours a day. It's bullshit. Come on. I mean, your body can't even do that. I mean, listen, what would you train 5 hours a day for when we're going to fight for 36 minutes? We're in the ring for 45 minutes total. I mean, what would you train for 5 hours? It's specific training. So I train my boys. None of them train for over an hour and a half a day or 2 hours a day, and every one of my boys can box 10 or 12 rounds any day of the week. And so, like I said, a lot of these guys were getting involved and hiring these third men as trainers. These third guys who go and train people are all ego guys. They're trying to make you do what they can do. And they don't even know how to show you how to use that strength or that core strength or whatever strength they're giving you, the shoulder strength. They've never thrown a punch in their life. So what's the use of me getting trained by somebody to have stronger shoulders or a stronger core if they can't show me how to use it in battle in what I'm doing? So I've been around these guys before. I've seen it all. And like I said, I think it's a waste of time. I think the old school trainers like Emmanuel Stewart and the old school trainers, who trained in the morning, they ran in the morning, they did sparring and boxing and training in the afternoon. That's all you need. I mean, as long as you do it properly, that's all you need. As long as you've got somebody who's teaching you how to do things properly, that's all you need. All these guys who say they train for 4 or 5 hours a day, I think they're dreaming because I don't believe them. Let them come and try to do one session that my boys do in an hour. Yeah, they wouldn't do that in 4 hours. So, like I said, I train specifically for the fight. What we're going to do on fight day is what we do and the amount of time we train for. I mean, if I'm doing any more, if I'm training them for hours, that just burns them out. And if the engine's burnt out, you can't fix it. If it's a little bit underdone, you can still push that engine more when it's underdone, but it's overdone, you can't go backwards and fix it. Well, you got to get a new engine, and these engines don't repair easily.
Yep. Now you remind me. I say it leads on to what I wanted to talk about, which is a bit of what the difference makes with the new school sort of training. I remember back in the PCYC in Cabra. I know you've had a history with the PCYCs. I remember the coach there specifically saying we weren't allowed to drink water during training. It was kind of funny because of the old school mentality. You're not allowed to drink, and you can only drink 2 hours after we finish, and you should drink milk. It was just like so not scientific, but he had champions in his gym, So, yeah, what is it really important?
Well, it's changed today, but I tell my boys I've never had a sip of water between a round for the start of my first 10 years or 12 years. And, there's no water in the gym, no water in the corner. Nobody was allowed to open the door or close the door while we're trying to keep the heat in and sweating. Yeah, it's just changed so much. But like I said, I'm sure some of the methods today with fluid intake and stuff are important and they will help boxers. But still, I think that that's completely different to training. I mean, these guys who are getting these fighters to do all this extra strength work and stuff. It's just a waste of time. You're either strong or you're not. And listen, we can work on strength. You can get stronger. That all comes from foundation, having a good platform underneath you and having your feet in the right position and knowing how to use your core. If you're doing all this stomach work and core work, teach somebody how to bend and sit and use their core, and that's how they'll punch harder, not by lifting any more weight. That's for sure. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on those other things, like your new things with the recovery, your ice bars, etc., supplements, all these things, dieting?
Yeah, well, you know what? I've been using a new company called TikTok. They've been helping the boys with their meals and their hydration and that fluid intake prior to the fight. And look, we've done it with Jack Brubaker. I've done it with his Nader Hamden's son, Has Hamden, and it's worked on both of them. They've been able to make weight, and they've been able to put on like 7 or 8 kilos in the next 24 hours to be super strong and feel great. I'm just hoping that it works with Brock Jarvis, because then if it works with Brock, well, if Brock can make featherweight and put on that weight, he's going to be a monster all around the world. He's going to do amazing things. So look, like I said, for me, I don't mind trying those things. I don't mind anybody trying to make my fighters better through nutrition or drinking or diet stuff. But when it comes to training, that's my job. And I think that I know what I'm talking about, and I leave that to me. I don't let nobody interfere with my running of my, from 5 a.m. till the time my boys go to bed in the night. I like to think that I've got everything covered.
Yep. And you mentioned before about if you had day before weigh-ins, it would have helped you a lot. What about these other little things like recovery and the science behind eating and that now? Would it have made you much of a different fighter, or you think it'd be fundamentally the same?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I never took vitamins. I never did certain things for a reason, because I thought that, when you forget to take something, I didn't take that, I don't feel good today. I just wanted to have I just ate properly, drank properly, done whatever I had to do prior to me going to the gym. And there were days where I hadn't eaten for 3 or 4 days, but I still had to train, start to spar and do what I had to do. But like I said, I was prepared for that. I'm mentally ready to do that, because I knew I had to make weight, and I knew to make weight and to be victorious and to be world champion, to have my hands raised, that I had to go through these sometimes horrendous actions to make weight and do everything else, and the pain barrier. But at the end of the day, it was all worth it.
I saw something with Joe Bugner talking about how he can eat what he wants, and there you are with a little plate of food, and he's happy he wasn't in that sort of weight division where he had to watch his weight so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, blessed also we had Joe Bugner train with us for a little while, and watching this big heavyweight eat whenever he wanted to. I'll never forget, I was at one of his weigh-ins after he was having half a glass of wine. I think, wow, can heavyweight, I'd love to be a heavyweight. But no, look, everything happens for a reason. And like I said, although I said I'd changed lots and lots of things, but in my career, I'm happy with the way everything panned out and where I am and where my reputation sits as a fighter. I'm more than happy.
Yep. And nowadays, you talked about your guys. What do you expect from a professional boxer that's under you? What is your expectation of them in terms of training and etc.?
Yeah, well, I'm happy you said that. Well, my expectation is this: that, like I said, we train in the morning and we train in the afternoon, so roughly around 2 hours a day. For those other 22 hours, I want them to be as professional as they can, because that's what makes the champions. The 2 hours training, everybody does that. I mean, we all do that. That's my job to overlook that. But I can't be there 24 hours a day to overlook those other 22 hours. So that's the most important part of their career and lives, is those other 22 hours where they have to manage for themselves. It's called self-management. They've got to go back and make sure they rest properly, because without rest, and train properly, they've got to eat properly, they've got to hydrate properly. So, and they can't go out and do the things that a lot of their friends would like them to do. They've got to isolate and punish themselves now, so they can have a great life when it's all over. If that's what if that's what they want to do. And like I said, those 22 hours that you're on your own are what differentiate between you being a great champion or just a champion, or just being normal or abnormal. And I wanted to think that I was way above being crazy abnormal, because I wouldn't go out. I'd done everything that nobody else done. I ran rain, hail or shine. I was in bed at 8:30 every night. I was up at 5 every morning. I ate properly. I'd done everything. I had to starve myself for days, but I done that because I wanted to be successful, and that's why I was able to. That's why I'm talking to you today. because I made lots of sacrifices, and those other 22 hours a day for me were all about me being the best fighter I could be. Nothing else, nothing else mattered to me except being the best fighter ever.
Awesome. And on the side of fight psychology, Jeff, how did you prepare for your big fights, etc.? How did you address it mentally, and then how do you train your guys or teach your guys to be psychologically fit for fighting?
Yeah, the mental side comes into it, especially in the last couple of days, which is even more important than the physical side, because the physical side is usually always done. That's my job, to make sure we're physically right. But mentally, I've got to help, and speaking to the boys, giving them reassurance, and I always let my boys know that I'm not going to put them into a fight that I don't believe they can win. I'm not going to put them in a fight, and if it's panning out in a bad way, I'll let my boys know that, hey, you're not going to be getting beat up. I'll throw the towel at any time to protect my fighters. So I put all these little narratives in place so they know that, they're going in the ring 110% prepared physically and mentally. I have them prepared, and then I want them to know that they've got somebody that is going to look over everything. That's my job. And like I said, every time before any of my boys fight, I always say to my boys, and I let them know this: do you think I would have put you in the ring with that guy if I didn't think you could beat him? I know we can beat this guy, so let's get out there and work. Listen to me. Let's work on the plan that we've gone through for the last 8 or 10 weeks of preparation. And but I always don't have one plan. My boys, especially, I like to think that they can. They've got 2 or 3 plans. They've got an A, B, and C plan. If you only got an A plan and somebody is better than you at your A plan, then you're going to lose a fight. You've got to be able to adapt and change. And we do a lot of that stuff. We do a lot of work on all different areas. Now, we do a lot of talking, and I make sure that my fighters can hear my voice and my voice only when they're fighting. And I usually can see and pick what's happening. I try to give my boys the best advice whenever they need to. So I've got a couple of little secret things that we go through again prior to fights, just mentally. And I think, like I said, in that last 24 hours, it's all mental. You got to go home, you got to rest, you got to prepare yourself mentally. And between me and the boys and the team I have around us, I have amazing helpers. I've got Mark Boros, who's with me on most of the occasions. My boys, he always talks to my fighters, and I've got a couple other people that are influential part of my team, Anthony Louisos and another friend, Joe Malari. And these guys are very, very successful in life and business. And I have them around my boys because I believe that having good people around you and successful people breeds success. So having those guys around at my fights on the way up there, we all drive together or we get to these places together. We're always working on the mental side there because, like I said, all the hard work's done. And just got to make weight. And then we've got to, again, rehydrate, eat properly. And then we've got to mentally prepare for what we're going to do. So, I'm very, very blessed to have a great team around me when that comes to that.
Awesome. Now, essentially, boxing is just a fight at the end of the day. I know for over the years, especially as a youngster, Jeff, you didn't back down from a fight here and there outside of the boxing ring. I wanted to know, what are your thoughts about boxing, how it translates to a real fight, like a street fight as an example? Do you think it's a good art to learn as far as your self-defense and that sort of thing?
I think everybody in the world, every school should have boxing as a something that we should learn. Because listen, in this day and age, we all need to learn to protect ourselves. Who knows where you're going to be or where you're going to, or when something's going to happen one day. Who knows if all of a sudden we're held up somewhere, if somebody's knocked us into a place. And if somebody does have that confidence and they know how to handle themselves, you can get people out of trouble, And but like I said, and in this world where we talk about, one of the greatest things we talk about today is bullying and having no confidence. This gives you self-confidence. This gives you the little edge where somebody might, and you don't have to use it all the time, but as long as you have that confidence to know that you can use it and you can speak for yourself, because the voice is everything. The power of voice is more important than the power of hands. If you can speak and speak properly and people think that you have got confidence and you can look after yourself, and 9 times out of 10, it'll disappear through talk. And if it has to happen that once out of 10 where you need to, then you can handle yourself. I'd love my children are the same. I'd teach all my daughters and my kids first how to talk and then how to if they need to fight, they can fight because I want them to be able to look after themselves, you know.
Yeah. And what are your feelings on obviously things have changed a bit. Everyone's talking about things like CTE, etc. What are your feelings on that as far as kids training? Any issues, or is there a certain way you train the kids to keep it light until they get into the older divisions, etc.?
Yeah, look, definitely so. I'm 1,000,000% support. I've donated my brain after I pass, and the reason why I've done that is just for research, but I also think that it'll help. It can help. But listen, it's really important that, again, this is the most important thing in life. I've got children. I'm going to send them to do something. I want to make sure this person I'm sending my children to, if it's to learn boxing, if it's to learn MMA, if it's to learn to read, write, or spell, that they do it properly. They know what they're talking about. And yeah, I don't want to, like I said, you know what sparring partners are. I've beaten so many certain people up throughout my life, thinking, wow, when I think of it today, that same person brought him back every day just to get beat up, whether they made money, whether they didn't make money, just to get, that's terrible. Just pretend that's your child. And what we want to do is we want to take our children to somebody who's going to treat them like they're their child, and you've got to talk to them and let them know that, listen, don't let my son take any more punishment than you let your own son. You know, you got to make sure they're with the right people. And I mean, there's not many of those people in the world. There's a lot of people who don't really care. They just take people on. And they don't really calculate the risk through success or the risk over years, or that kind of stuff that we're talking about, and longevity. Today we really got to think of that. I look at these amateurs. I mean, they shouldn't be allowed to have 100 or 200 amateur fights and then turn pro. We got to limit it and number it and make sure that we're looking after these guys, especially these guys that we don't realise that in sparring we get more injuries and we get concussed, maybe every week. So just a little concussion while you're sparring, a little buzzy, but it all adds up, and eventually, as we get into our 40s and 50s, we start forgetting things, and then we think, wow, was this worth it? And we need to have good, responsible people that are looking after our children in all. Wow. Hello?
Yeah, got you, mate.
Wow, sorry, my phone just rang again. Wait, what happened here?
Yeah.
No, one second.
We're all good.
What do I have to do here?
We're all good. Everything's good. I can see you again, mate. Just you just turned your microphone off though. Just hit that microphone again. You're on mute. If you press the button, there'll be a microphone. You have to click on it again. You accidentally muted yourself. There you go. You're back. Yeah, you're back, mate. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Jeff, just talking about we're talking about the minimizing damage with the kids, etc. I've been listening to a few interviews just before talking to you of you when you're young, and I would say I don't see any after effects from even all your fights that you're like. Some people you see that have fought a lot have slurred speech, etc. You see more in your game than you when you're young. How do you feel? You don't feel like you've been affected a lot?
Well, slurred speech, no, but listen, memory loss, wow. Listen, today, because I was talking to you, I had to write it down right in the front of my phone, so I see it this morning, and just to remind myself, because I forget things. I forget things a lot, and, I've left the service station without paying for my petrol in a couple of days to go back, just little things that are crazy, but it's happened to me, and I talk about it because I don't want it to happen to other people, and it's crazy.
Yeah, actually, that rings true for me too, mate. And I never fought it at your level at all, but yeah, the same thing. I get the memory loss, but yeah, some other things not as affected. So, I didn't ask you before. I meant to ask. Did you ever try anything else other than boxing out of interest? Any martial arts or anything, just for fun, or no?
No, but I'll never forget. I was at in LA at the gym where Ronda Rousey trained, and I always have been this physically strong guy, so I thought I would show those little MMA guys how I could wrestle them and throw them around. So I did. I got this guy and I'm throwing him down on that mat and just got him. And all of a sudden, I don't know what he done, but he just went through this arm, under that arm, and locked this arm of mine. And I wouldn't tap out, but I was bruised for maybe 4 weeks from the pain. Yeah, I wouldn't tap out, of course, because I too stupid to do that. But it was crazy. But yeah, look, I respect all sports. But look, boxing for me is the noble art where two guys use their fists to punch each other. That's what when I grew up, that's what men done, you know. When I was at school, when I was a kid, if somebody kicked, oh yeah, he's a girl, he kicks, he's a girl, he kicks, you know. So anyway, but look, it's all good today. I love all the MMA. I love it. I love all combat sports, and I think that all our children should learn them.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned about Ronda Rousey's gym. Are you connected to that somehow through Vic Darchinyan or one of those guys because of the Armenian guys, or?
Sorry, Champ, I missed you. I'm not hearing you as good as I was before. One sec.
Okay.
You want to talk again? Sorry, ask
yeah,
my
mate.
question.
Yeah, I'm just here. I was just asking. You said you trained at you went to Ronda Rousey's gym. Was that because you're linked with the Darchinyan and the Armenian guys?
Yeah, that's because the trainer was linked with Darchinyan, and it was in where all the Armenians were. So we're there doing a bit of training. Yeah, but yeah, look, watching them go through what they went through, I was crazy. And like I said, I thought, look at this, it's simple crap, you know. So yeah, I jumped in there and I learned a lesson pretty quick.
Yeah, awesome. So one other thing I want to talk. You've talked about this a million times before, but just to quickly touch on it. Again, over in Macau here, I had the chance to meet Mike Tyson quickly. He came over here for a film festival where he'd been involved in that Ip Man movie. I don't know if you've seen that. It's pretty cool. He fights Donnie Yen in one of the movies in a kung fu versus a boxing sort of fight. Anyway, he came over, and I just wanted to touch on Mike Tyson and you. There are some parallels, both from humble beginnings. Both had mentor type of trainers. Do you consider that you guys are drawn together because you have some sort of similarities in that way?
Definitely so. First of all, I love Mike. The greatest period of my life was when I was not just training, but being with him, living with him, helping him. But him and Cuss, his story is identical to Johnny Lewis and myself. You know, we talk about things, and we both had amazing mentors early on, and we both became great fighters. And I mean, like I said, for me, Mike is a fighter. At his best, I don't believe any heavyweight in the world could have beat him if he trained and was mentally prepared properly. I don't believe nobody could have beat him. I think he was the GOAT. But like I said, the only person that ever really beat Mike Tyson was himself. But as a friend, as a person, he's second to none. I think what he's doing today, wow, it's remarkable. It's crazy to think that this guy, 15, 20 years ago, I'd seen him a few times. I thought I'd never see him again because I thought he'd be dead. He's now, one of the most successful people ever that's left the sport of boxing, So, and I'm so proud to have that little, tie with him and all his friends, Darryl Francis and Tom Paddy and all our friends, and Rick, the security. We're all great friends still today, so it means a lot to me.
Awesome. Did you ever get the chance to hold pads for Mike? I just wanted to know what his power feel like.
It's on all over YouTube, yeah.
How to feel, man.
Pads hundreds of times for Mike. Thousands of times, So, amazing power, amazing speed. And, like I said, I wish that maybe I had the opportunity to train him 10 years early, because I still think he could have been champion today. Just keeping him in the gym and keeping him busy, keeping him mentally ready for any challenge. If he was that guy, nobody could beat.
Yep, understand. Last sort of point, Jeff, just over your career, you've shown like certain compassion and interest in helping people, obviously people with disabilities, children, etc. Are you following that sort of thing these days? Obviously, you're helping people in general, but is there anything in particular you're sort of following in that side?
Obviously, I'm still involved with my beautiful friend Con, who's getting older and finding it hard to get places, especially now in COVID. He's locked up at home like a caged lion. But listen, my thing in life today is to try to make other people as happy as I can. I had the support of the whole of Australia. I've got a beautiful home, a car, and everything I've got is because of the support I got. So if in any way, shape or form that I can give back and help anyone in any way, shape or form, I'm more than happy to do that. I love going out to restaurants and seeing people, and whether I pay their bill, whether I buy them a nice bottle of wine or just be nice, it means a lot to me, And helping people will always be at the forefront for me and my wife. We help a lot of people. We love it. We love, it's not about giving back. It's just about helping people. And if you can, I'm in a position where I can help people. And if I can help them, I will.
It's very true, Jeff. And one little example is, I'll reach out to some people, and even some sort of guys not so famous or reject, and then I've reached out to one of the greatest of all time, and you've given me some time today, so that's part of it as well. So thank you from myself. I'm a big fan of yours anyway. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. I woke up feeling pretty buzzed today that I get the chance to have a chat with Mr. Jeff Fenech.
Hey, Joe, I'm the real guy that realises without you or your family supporting me, what would I have today? Without people that paid for tickets to watch me fight, I wouldn't have made money if people didn't pay to watch me fight. I wouldn't have been nobody if the Australian public never embraced me and supported me and gave me the opportunities that I've had. So I'll never forget where I come from, or not where I come from, but how I got there. And I got there through the support of the Australian public. And I say I love you all because I really do. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, that's a wrap. And like I just said, I really, really appreciate that someone such as yourself is willing to give us the time. And best of luck and with everything in the future. Is that actually your podcast, the Standing 8 podcast, Jeff? That was a great podcast I've been watching.
Yeah, it's mine and my manager, Paul Fitzgerald. Yeah, it's our podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So recommend that one to anyone that wants a good listen. Some great different guests on there, from underworld figures to sporting icons to new fighters such as Tim Tszyu. Yeah, great one to watch. Anyway, Jeff, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day and all the best.
Hey, Toby, you enjoyed Macau, brother. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, man. Cheers.
Bye, mate. Bye.
Bye.